So you're throwing a little bit of a party. You've got your bread, you've got your dip, but then sooner or later your guests are going to start complaining, hey, where's the music? It's time to bust out the old CDs. You go through your cabinet, you look for your old Summer Mix 99. Then you think, hey, I don't actually have a device that can play these CDs. It's 2019. I mean, come on. Now you could go out and buy one of these relatively cheap and inexpensive Bluetooth devices. But you know what? You're a classy man. You're a little high society. So let's make a couple variations. So you could easily make these things with basic hand tools. But you know what? I bought this cheap Chinese circle cutting death machine. Although it looks intimidating, you can save a lot of money on various size hole saws. Simply adjust either side to what you need, tighten the nuts, and point and shoot. After going over the incredibly well written caution guide, you know you've got a quality and safe product when you need to halt both sides, cutting objects firmly by 2 foots. I might have been a little too overambitious when purchasing this thing. It's a little bit too big for my drill press. Not a problem, I'm going to cut it down with a 4-inch grinder. Before we can start losing our fingers, we need to cut the timber. I'm using a 9mm hardwood plywood for this one, and I'm using this Makita drop saw that I've got. Really love this product, it's amazing. I'm really happy with this style of saw. They are on the expensive side, but the fact that you don't have to clamp up everything you cut, it's just point and shoot, incredibly easy to operate these things. So I recently copped a lot of flack at work for not wearing the correct PPE or protective equipment, so for the guys at work, you know who you are, this one's for you. I haven't been able to find the correct sized hole of PVC pipe I can use for my homemade dust collection system, so for now we're going to have to put up with the dust, but good thing we're wearing our mask. This is actually the first time I'm using this hole cutter, so you can tell by the fear in my face, it's a little bit scary to use. Didn't really know how to work this out at start, but what I did was cut about halfway, or until it bogs down, flip it over, cut the other side, come out with a delicious little slice. If you're lucky enough to come out with all your fingers in one piece, this is what you'll be left with. This is why I wanted to leave it like this before cutting it into little delicious acoustic slices. These holes are going to be the horn for the device. Router I'm going to use just to clean everything up is this little Makita barrel style router. Not that easy to get these style of routers in Australia, but this is a smaller one, more of a laminate trimmer they call it. Does the job really well. And I'm going to use just a simple round over bit. I'm not looking for a perfect concave shape, just something that sort of represents a horn of a speaker. So there's no point making a fancy speaker box if you've got nowhere to put your phone. I'm using the second to last piece on this one. I'm going to cut out a basic shape. The sound comes out of the right speaker. Our perspective, right speaker. So as long as I can have a little bit of a gap for the sound to actually come through, it's going to work out just fine. After a few cuts in the bandsaw, came out okay. Sound goes through the right hole, comes out the barrel or the horn of the speaker box. What I'm left with is a pretty rough piece of timber. I do want to cut the bottom on a bit of an angle, just so it faces up, give it a bit of a aesthetic feel to it. Then a lot of sanding. I'm going to cut this on the drop saw first. It's not enough to go through, but that's fine. I can clean it up all with the bandsaw, giving it a little bit of a bevel, just so it faces upwards, give it a nice look. So it certainly helped to have a large 32-inch, possibly diameter disc sander, something I'm probably going to have to invest in or build like I did with my other disc sander. So it's something that's really going to happen because I could have cut the time from almost 10 minutes down to a few seconds. Giving this a few licks of oil-based really brings it out. Could have used a spray, didn't really have any, so I've got this cheap oil-based stuff from a local hardware store. Really brings out the colour on it perfectly. Really happy with the result. Now I did promise you I'm going to make a different variation of this in this video. Something a lot simpler, a lot safer. You'll most likely come out with all your fingers. The setup for the second speaker box is essentially the same. Grab your wood, mark your wood, grab your saw, wear your mask, cut your wood, slice your wood, snack. You could just use the plywood. I'm going for something a little bit thicker. This is from an old bed frame that was cleaned up years ago that a friend gave, and we're essentially just going to sandwich these two pieces together. Again, you can do this with hand tools. The design really doesn't matter as long as you have a nice little space for the sound to come out with. I'm going for this very unaesthetically pleasing bend that I thought I could cut quite easily, but this blade on the bandsaw seriously needs replacing or sharpening. The top of the box unfortunately wasn't done on camera. It's essentially the same as the first one we did, but I left a little bit extra just for glue up and made it a bit simpler. With a few licks of paint and a little bit of oil-based varnish, the second box came out like this. Could have done a little bit more touch-up work, but really it's just going to be sitting on a console table, or I'm going to palm it off to a friend when I'm too cheap to buy a present. Lastly, we have to make sure if this works, so enjoy. Here's a sound test. Thanks for watching.